So, hey, Russell Westbrook staying in L.A., Key. The Clippers.
He never left.
That's right. Didn't put his house up or anything, right?
Didn't need to.
The Clippers' title odds before signing Westbrook were basically 11-1, plus 1,100.
So now they went up.
No, down to 900, down to plus 900. So they went. So in other words, yes, they're better odds to win.
Yeah, better odds. That's what I mean.
To win.
Yeah.
From 11-1 to
Ain't that pretty?
9-1.
Isn't that interesting? A team gets Westbrook, and their odds get better.
Yeah. By the way, especially that team that could use a guy to really initiate the offense.
But it's funny. Everybody complained about Westbrook, and he can't play, and he's this and he's that. He goes to the Clippers, and their odds get better.
Horses for courses, though, right? Like styles make fights, as they say. If like everyone tries to reinvent the wheel with LeBron, now he's on to this part of his career where he needs another guy. No, he needs shooters.
But I also believe that Westbrook will fit in with the Clippers in just the everything that they
Ty Lue,
yeah. Ex-player that played at championship level.
Great coach, maybe the best coach in the game.
One of the good coaches, Jerry West, hanging around the organization. There's a certain communication that can get a person to do certain things where he's not going to maybe get into ruffling feathers with Ty Lue like he did with Darvin Ham.
Right.
I'm excited for Westbrook, though. I'm happy that he's going to a place that it feels like they will appreciate his talents. They would appreciate his talents.
Can you imagine if Russell Westbrook wins a championship on the Clippers? After all this time, it could happen. The Clippers are a sleeping giant in the West because they're respectable even when their best players aren't there because they have depth. They have good, third, fourth, and fifth best players, and they got a great coach. Meantime, Brian Windhorst, ESPN senior NBA writer, on Paul George's role in all this.
I have to say there is probably no bigger supporter in the NBA of Russell Westbrook than Paul George. Paul George, who formed that bond with him when they were in Oklahoma City. If you remember, Paul George had all kinds of teams all over him ready to pull him out of there. And at midnight on July 1st, he and Russ said, I'm staying with you, Russ. So he eventually asked to be traded, but don't ask about that right now. Paul George, as soon as Russ was traded, began advocating to his front office. He wanted Russ in a Clipper uniform.
Well, there you go. You got a teammate of his, former teammate of his, advocating that he joins forces. So clearly he felt that there was not going to be any disruption at all whatsoever. He would fit in to what their style is and what they want to do, that culture that the Clippers have created, that he's a perfect situation for it. Not only that, he gives them the point guard that they need. Or the playmaking guard that they need.
They need someone to initiate the offense.
Yes.
Like, I'm curious to see in this era now, because it's constantly evolving and changing the NBA. But once upon a time, it was you need a great point guard and a great big, a center. Mm-hmm. Then that turned into actually the best way is two-way wings, Jordan and Pippen, for example. And I'm curious if that's still the case, or if nowadays the point forward or point guard who's not, who's primarily a scorer but can also set up your offense, who can control it, like Luka Doncic, James Harden, guys like that. Because the Clippers are built with the two-way wings, but the downside of that is you don't want Kawhi or Paul George taking the ball up the floor, initiating the offense. It's not really, they can, but it's not really what they do. Now they got a guy in Westbrook to do it.
And it's so funny because a lot of people don't look at Westbrook or hadn't looked at Westbrook in the past as a guy who can initiate the offense. But a guy gets triple-doubles every night when he was, right? That's why I could never understand. Here's a guy who's setting records, assist records, and all sorts of triple-doubles.
He averaged a triple-double for 3 consecutive years.
But I'm like, well, part of that is you have to be able to get the assist to have the triple-double. When you told one thing and it doesn't happen and something else happens, you're not a happy camper, Max, right? I mean, hey, Max, we're going to let you call Monday Night Football. This is why we got you. And then all of a sudden, you're doing something different. You're not going to be happy. That's just the reality of it.
So I want to bring this back to something you said about Jerry West. No one's this lucky, Key, as an executive. Jerry West is the most successful executive probably in the history of American team sports. His work as the GM of the Lakers is so great that it may overshadow his playing career, where once upon a time, he was in the conversation for greatest non-center who ever lived. He is the logo. He won the MVP in the finals on the losing team. He used to lead the league, 30 points a game on average. Like, he was an incredible player, maybe even a better executive. But Key, then he goes to the Warriors. And I understand it's not whatever.
Before the Warriors, he went somewhere else, though. He
went to Memphis. And then and Memphis, by the way, started making the playoffs every year. Then he goes to the Warriors, and I said at the time on LA radio, the battle of the 5 freeway has begun, right? Jerry West is with the Warriors. Didn't happen because the Lakers weren't very good those years, but the Warriors had a dynasty. Well, you can't give that to Jerry West. I agree. That's not about you. However, he showed up. They weren't a powerhouse. He showed up. They win the championship every year. Now he's with the Clippers, Key.
And they wanted to trade Clay, and he said no.
And he put his body in front of that Clay for Kevin Love. He said, you're not trading Clay Thompson. Now, if the Clippers win a chip with Jerry West, even as a consultant.
So it's interesting because before the start of this season, I had dinner at Jerry West. And we were sitting and we were all talking or whatever. And he was, he's telling me he's messing with Vance, my son, or whatnot. And he said to me, he says, we're better than the Lakers. I'm like, you're just saying that. You're just saying that. He's like, no, we are better. And he started going down the roster, start going down different stuff. And what am I going to do? I'm going to argue with Jerry West? I'm like, oh, okay, yes, you probably are better than the Lakers. And they're better than the Lakers.
I don't care what kind of a personality clash
it's still
or problem.
The Clippers, though.
If I am the Lakers, there is no way Jerry West is getting out that door. I don't care what it is. He's a pro. Though we're not getting along. Whatever. Jerry West ain't getting out that door, period. And when you look around the NBA at the success in Miami, at the success in Golden State, wherever he's gone, that's really Lakers Southeast, Pat Riley. That's the Lakers. He brought it to Miami. Brought it to the Knicks at first. They almost won a championship, then brought it to Miami. You look at the Warriors, the Clippers. Okay, I'm not going to credit Jerry West with building those places.
But he's in the building.
I don't think it's a coincidence.
He's in the building.
That they get him and they have that success.
Well, he may not be the person building the teams and stuff like that, but even if he walked past and says, well, maybe he should shoot one more time a game. That has
an influence.
That's an influence.
It has an influence.
Yeah.
You can't tell me it's just a coincidence.
He's not there for nothing. He's there for something.
And here's Russell Westbrook with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and Ty Lue and they got guys on the bench.
And it's still the Clippers, though.
It's still the Clippers, but man, one of these years you would think.
Well, it's still the Clippers.
It's funny that during that whole window of opportunity, suppose they have a window, the Lakers are no good for 5 years. Lakers won a chip since then.
Still the Clippers.
8 teams out of 16, so out of 15 per conference, which is more than 50%, make the playoffs. But then 2 other teams get the play in. So you're talking about
more than
10 out of 15. It's 2/3. Exactly 2/3 of the league is playing after the final game of the regular season. Teams are incentivized to rest people.
Important, though.
But not more important than not having your star player 100%, right?
Yeah, but how many of the star players that whatever the number of games that they miss due to resting really makes a difference come playoff time?
See, what you're talking about, though, Key, is something else. You're saying their calculation about it all is wrong.
Yes.
I think you're probably right about that. I think in baseball,
no, I am right. There is no probably.
I think in basketball, the pendulum has swung too far in that direction. They're too cautious. But that's different than saying like they're acting in what they think is their own best interest. If they talk to people like you and they go, they make a good point. The more we look at it, the more the chemistry is off, the seeding is not as good, it didn't really protect the guy. Let's play them a little more. Then they'll play him a little more. But the fact is they're behaving rationally. They're behaving in what they feel is their best interest.
But see, if LeBron James is resting up, I'm okay with that in certain situations because he's been injured.
Yep.
He has injury history over the last 2 years. So maybe that contributed to him being injured. Or Anthony Davis, for whatever reason, he needs the rest because his pinky hurts. Whatever it is, I'm willing to give him that, but not just, I don't feel like playing today and I'm a chill.
I agree. I think, my mind always goes to, in this, I think about baseball a lot, and we don't really talk about it that much, but I know you're a baseball fan too. Guys like AD, people are mad at him as though it's a mental toughness thing. And whatever you think about that, it's also a body thing.
Well, the reason people think that because the injuries that show up on television, so to speak, they don't look egregious. It looks like he fell on the floor, and it's like my kid fell on the floor. He can get up from that.
So you know who I always think about? I always use this comparison. In the 80s, there's Cal Ripken Jr., everyone knows. He broke Lou Gehrig's consecutive games played. He was an Iron Man. Just the way his tendons were put together, for all his toughness, he was physically built a certain way. In fact, people talk about like wrestling in the dugout. He could beat two guys at once. He was just physically strong like that. Then you get a guy like Eric Davis. And Eric Davis was a baseball lifer type, right? It's not like he had a bad attitude toward baseball.
But ED would be hurt from time to time.
He was 165 pounds, 6'2", soaking wet, $165. So that's just, he play 130 games. He probably would have benefited from load management, right? Like it's just the way some guys are built. They need a little more protection. You got to know who to apply it to.
I think I have nothing wrong. I have nothing against load management at all. I just want you to find the right games to do it. I don't like the marquee games when they miss the marquee games. Like, I don't like stuff like that. I just don't. If you're playing against Charlotte, like if I'm Golden State and I'm traveling all the way from San Francisco to Charlotte, like, okay, so what? I'm chilling. Or
I'm gonna beat him anyway.
Or I'm traveling from Sacramento to Chicago. I'm like,
yeah,
it's not that big of a deal.